The Toronto Raptors finally have a new coach, we think,
Yeah.
and he probably will be announced tomorrow. Rajakovic, is that how you pronounce his name?
Darko Rajakovic, Serbian-born, lifer, coach, lifer, been coaching since he was 16 years old at various club teams in Serbia and Europe, and then a bunch of 3 NBA teams. Was a guest coach at Duke and University of Arizona. Did a summer league program with San Antonio. Coached in Phoenix, Oklahoma City, and now Memphis. The guy's been around, man. He's got a resume. He's got, and I spent a lot of time Saturday and Sunday, and I can't find anybody who doesn't have good things to say about this guy. Now I have
Yeah.
no idea. I don't think I've ever spoken to him, but anybody who's I talked to who knows him, or knows of him, speaks nothing but highly of him. And it'd be interesting to see how he handles that move 3 feet over to your left.
So,
now you got to be the guy.
When did he appear on your radar, Doug?
I had heard a couple of weeks ago that they were interested in him, and if you look down the list of sexy NBA assistants, he would have been on it right from the very start. I didn't know whether I presume the Raptors would have talked to him early because they talked to everybody except the three of us, I think.
Yeah.
But it was the last 10 days I got a feeling that he was a much more serious candidate than some may have thought 2 weeks ago.
So if you're the president of the Toronto Raptors, why would you take him? What is it? What's the asset that you think he has that made them jump up and say he's the guy?
Well, I think, and I know this from talking to people who know what Masai was going through in this process, that they're still not sure what the roster is going to look like.
Exactly.
So they wanted a guy that they felt comfortable could develop players if that was the way they went, or coach veteran team if that was the way they went. And I think of all the people they looked at, this guy seems to tick off both those boxes. Kenny Atkinson, who was in the running, is a developmental guy first and foremost, helped grow the Brooklyn franchise. Sergio Scariolo is a closer, 62 years old, coaches great veteran teams in the Olympics with Spain. So they were on the each end of the spectrum. This guy, I think, seems to fit in the middle, and I think that's what Masai and Bobby wanted, and I think they decided that this guy can do both jobs depending on which way they want to go. And I'm not entirely sure they know yet which way they're going to go.
My guess is they have no idea. They don't know. Well, they may have an idea of where they want to go,
right?
But where they will go, I don't think they know.
No, you're right. Things got to play out, and Fred VanVleet will opt out. I think Wednesday is his day. He'll opt out of his contract. Gary Trent Jr. is on the 20th. It's a virtual certainty he will, but it's not 100%. So he might be back on his contract. And then you have the draft a week from Thursday. So you got stuff. It's time that Masai now starts concentrating on the thing, which is the team. And I don't know that they've done back channel stuff, and they've got insider information that we're not privy to.
Right.
But as for a certainty of what's going to happen on this team, I don't think they know today for 100% which way this team will go in September.
Is there any way to decipher what kind of style of basketball this guy likes?
If you read stuff that he's written and said, he likes to play fast. And I do know from talking to a bunch of NBA coaches, he worked really hard with Jaren Jackson Jr., who became the Defensive Player of the Year in Memphis, and Desmond Bane, who became a very good shooter. But he co-authored a academic paper for a FIBA website with Quinn Snyder on how to play pick and roll. It's deep. But he also said when he coached in Phoenix, I want a player to decide within 0.5 of a second when he gets the ball what he's going to do with it. Shoot it, drive it, or pass it. So I think he wants to play quick. Memphis was certainly not an isolation team, and he was Taylor Jenkins' right-hand man in devising how they played. So I think you'll see them play fast. I don't think you'll see them play tricky like Nick did with trapping and ball pressure all over the court and scrambling on defense. I think they'll probably be more conventional that way. But I think offensively, they're going to play quick and the ball's going to move. At least that's the hope.
If this Raptor team doesn't change much, and there's a good chance it won't, do you think this is a team that would play well in a quick offense?
I think they have smart players, yes. And I think if those smart players are willing to move the ball quickly, then I think they could be successful that way. I do think they will be far better off playing a more normal defensive style because that's where their personnel fits. But offensively, I think they can play fast. They can't play Phoenix 7 seconds or less fast. They can't play
Right.
Golden State with 45 3-pointers a night fast. But they can get the ball up and they have guys who can make quick decisions, you'd think. Now, whether they do or not, it depends on, again, this team, last year's group of players was an odd mix, and I'm not sure how well everybody got along. So I think that's why some change has to be made. And I don't think it's got to be major change. I think a couple tweaks here and there that everybody's happier and everybody's more. I don't think anybody playing for the Raptors last year had any fun. And I think you can get
I
fun
agree.
back in. You get fun back in and you become a better team because you're truly playing for the guy sitting next to you, not yourself.
What do you think?
How important is Van Vliet to that?
Very. He's the leader of the band. Players take their lead from him, and he's so smart at the game that he knows when this guy's got to get the ball to keep him happy. He knows how to exploit matchups because that's the best for that night. I think he's very important to that kind of play and that kind of cohesion because he's done it. He's played on, that team, that 2019 championship team. That was an old group of very, very, very smart players.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned a lot from them. He learned a lot by sitting next to Kyle Lowry for 5 or 6 years. So I think he's vital to that kind of thing where he can find out what's working and make it work. Now, is he back? I think he will be, but it's going to be market and money driven. So I don't know. And I don't think anybody can say 100% for sure.
Well, if management thinks the way you do about him, then they probably will want him back, right?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they want him back.
And then it is entirely up to him. Is there a team out there that you know of that is prepared to give him a big, big, big offer?
There aren't a lot of teams, a lot of money to do that.
Right.
So no, I don't think so. I think the only one that's kind of intriguing would be Orlando. And I'm not even sure they got that kind of money because it's a very good young team that needs a grown-up. And he's it. And I know they got a bunch of point guards, but they don't have a veteran. And that's a very, very intriguing young team. You hear Phoenix all the time, but they don't have any money. And I'm not sure there's anybody left on that roster you want to trade for because you're not going to get Ayton, Durant, or Booker. Chris Paul is done now. I wouldn't do that in a second. But I don't think there's a lot of teams out there that would have the money and the opportunity that Fred would want.
Right.
Maybe there's a surprise one that someone can finagle money to do it, but I don't see it.
So I'm back to Rajakovic. I assume that he has to rebuild his whole staff. There was nobody. There was nobody retained, right?
Nobody left. The two guys who left doing workouts were Jim Sand and Rico Hines. I understand Rico might go join Nick in Philly. Jim Sand's been a lifer, a developmental coach. I presume he sticks around, but other than that, nobody. Whether I don't know I have no clue. I'm trying to figure out actually who he might bring in, who his godfather is, who his old head is, and I can't find out yet. And it's going to be interesting because he does have, the Raptors had on their depth chart last year. The Raptors had 10 assistant coaches. Yeah. 10. That's ridiculous. They could get away with 5. So I think it'll be a sliver staff, but I don't know who's going to be on it. But yeah, he'll work with Bobby and Masai, obviously, because they write the checks at the end of the day. But he's going to be interesting to see who he brings in and how he gets a cohesive staff together as well.
I just wonder, the interview process that the team went through for coaches would there be somebody that they interviewed that could probably be a lead assistant or somebody that he could lean on?
I wouldn't be surprised if they went to him and said, "Look, we talked to these 4 people during the process. You should talk to them too, and see what you think." Ultimately, he has to get along with the person, but I think the Raptors would absolutely, Bobby would absolutely say, "Look, we talked to 100 guys. Here are 4 that we think you might want to meet with, or at least investigate and see where it goes."
That's interesting. I wonder if I was one of those people who interviewed for the job but didn't get it, but then was offered an assistant job with the same team. Is that a job I want to take?
That's a good question, and I don't know. I think a lot of guys would say, "Yes, I want to get back in the game," because you're interviewing, especially guys who don't have jobs.
I get it. Yeah,
they want a seat on the bus. They want to be around the game. They want to be in the fray. I don't think anybody would come thinking, okay, I'm going to come and I'm going to sabotage this guy because
No, I get it, but
you'll be able to tell that. I don't know. I think,
but would you take the job? Like if it was
Yeah, that's-
offered to you, would you say sure?
that's
You
a
know?
really good question. I probably would, depending on the circumstance, if I didn't have a job, I'd say, yeah, sure, let's go. Let's give it a try.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But
And-
that'd be the reason why I take the job.
Yeah, and would have to sit across the table from Darko and say, and have a 2 hour long chat.
Mhm.
See if your philosophies mix, your personalities
Well,
mix.
of course, yeah, sure.